follow the progression here of what happens to raptors. Jurassic Park, scariest dinosaur ever, smarter than T-Rexes, they can team up on you. The Lost World, they get gymnasticked to death somehow. Jurassic Park, we're great parents. All we want is our baby back. Come back. We're a loving family unit. And then Jurassic World, we're obedient like dogs. And we fight T-Rexes on your behalf. And then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Aw, are you feeling down? Let Blue cheer you up. Woo, woo. Listen, people, we are one Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie away from having essentially an Air Bud version of Jurassic Park. That's basically what we're dealing with now. You know, like it'll be something like Air Blue, the rapping raptor who's dropping sweet rhymes about family values and the importance of having pets. You know what I mean? They're becoming so loving and compassionate and so sweet.
Yeah. You know, we're going to get into our predictions for the future of the Jurassic Park franchise, I'm sure.
Got mine.
But I was just going to say, definitely in the next movie, some human is going to be injected with a small amount of raptor DNA so that they can speak the language.
I think you're right. I think so. That's actually where it seems to be going.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to Ignore the Bell. My name is Nathan.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Luke.
And we are talking about the first two of the potential three movies in the Jurassic World trilogy. Because it's my understanding that this is going to be a trilogy. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that we're going to get 4 and 5 and whatever else. But it's supposed to be a trilogy, at least at this point, as I understand it. So Jurassic World from 2015, and then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom from, what was that, 2018? Is that right?
I think so.
And so I don't know when we're getting Jurassic World, whatever the next one is going to be called. Do you guys know?
I believe next year in, I think June.
June 2021.
I believe so.
So we're talking about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and I guess a little bit about the third film and kind of the direction that this seems to be going. And we've already done a Jurassic Park discussion where we talked about Jurassic Park, and then The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Let me get the title exactly right. And then Jurassic Park 3 with the raptor claws for the 3, not the 3 numeral. So we've already done one of those discussions. So if you want to know what we think about the first 3 films, then you can go ahead and watch that. And I'm wondering, I imagine I'm just going to force it in here that we're going to talk about the direct to YouTube short film. What is that one called?
What it's called.
Oh, it's Battle at Big Rock or something like that.
I was gonna say Battle at Big Rock, but I felt like that was honestly a Land Before Time movie. So anyway, we might talk about that as well. And I understand that Netflix is it's going to have Camp Cretaceous Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, because if you look it up in Netflix right now, if you search for Jurassic Park, you're going to see it's an upcoming series and it's animated. I don't know if it's for kids or what, but it's definitely animated, and it's coming up fairly soon.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that is
it pops right up on Netflix, and you can see it. It doesn't have the trailer yet, but it's got the information on it. So anyway, we'll get into potentially all of that. So we do have a sponsor for today's podcast. So Luke, you're in charge of our sponsor for this week.
That's right. So everybody out there, you know that lighting is pretty expensive sometimes, and when your cheap lighting fails, there's new cheap lighting that you can get, and it's these little red lanterns. They are amazing for when your normal lights don't work anymore. You can just turn them on with only 4 AA batteries to power it up. You can turn it on, you can dim it, all that. Yeah.
Only 4 AAs. I would expect that to take 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, I know, exactly. And so it's a really great quality lighting. It's cheap lighting for cheap people.
Awesome.
And that's the main focus, like when your cheap lighting breaks, you can just grab new cheap lighting.
This ad is really speaking to me.
Yeah, yeah. I can see why they chose to advertise on our podcast.
That's right. Just don't look directly into the lantern, or else you might have temporary blindness.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 batteries for a lamp. That's a really good use of our precious natural resources, the finite resources we have on the planet, to use 4 batteries to, yeah, power a lamp when we could be using any other power source. But we're not going to.
Nope.
We're not going to. All right, folks, go out and buy, what is it? Cheap lantern? Is that the name of it?
Little lanterns.
Little lanterns. Go out and buy little lanterns today. I hope you enjoy.
Oh man, I wish this discussion could go on forever.
Ignore the bell. We're gonna keep going, people.
All right, so we were talking about Jurassic World, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and then I guess the general direction that this seems to be going in and the franchise in general. We'll have a big, broad discussion on this. So, I only just saw Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Jurassic World I've seen before, and I enjoy it a fair bit. I feel like that is the sequel, I think in part because I just watched The Lost World Jurassic Park and then Jurassic Park 3
Yes.
because I just watched those, and then I watched Jurassic World and I went, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, I had the exact same reaction.
I was enjoying it so much, even more than the first time I watched it. Like a lot more than the first time that I watched it. And it felt like this is everything that I wanted out of a Jurassic Park sequel. I wanted to see the park actually operating. I wanted to see it kind of at its height of success, and to see all the different attractions and features that they would have with guests being there and resorts and all of that it was terrific. And then everyone kind of getting attacked because things go wrong. I'm like, this is everything I want in a Jurassic Park sequel. And as a sort of a reboot-ish to the series, can we call it that?
Yeah, I think
Like a sequel? Is that what you like to call it, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that's a decent enough description. Although, I mean, it doesn't bring back anybody from the original until you get into Fallen Kingdom. So,
Yeah.
like a sequel might not be the perfect term for it, but it's close enough.
Sure. So that's kind of generally, and I want to get your general thoughts before we get into some specifics here, but that's generally how I feel about Jurassic World, especially rewatching it. But then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and we had talked before, and I was saying how, oh man, I'm really enjoying this. Like Tyler, I was talking to you about this a couple days ago, and I said,
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this. And then I watched the rest of the movie, and then I went, never mind. And because this is the problem, this is my issue, and I want to have this as at least this is my contribution to the discussion, that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it begins with Jeff Goldblum giving a very vague but very ominous warning about, this technology can do stuff and we've got to be careful because bad things can happen. And then I think it was, who was he? It was Congress, US Congress. It wasn't the United Nations for some weird reason to do with it's taking place in Costa Rica and they don't go to the United Nations. They go to Congress in the United States.
I mean, I guess InGen owns the island. I don't know.
No, I still can't get behind this. It was the wrong body to, present in front of, but whatever, I'll tolerate it. So he's testifying in front of Congress, and then they're asking him questions. They're like, ooh, those are really weird, vague warnings. What is it that you're worried about? And he's like, just stuff could happen and it could go crazy. They're like, you mean like what? And he's like, exactly, I mean like what? He doesn't give us any warning at all, but it's very much like, don't mess around with this stuff. And then the entire movie ends up being this really weird auction for the black market that people are buying dinosaurs but not as pets, but it seems like they're buying them for genetic purposes, I guess, to get the genetic material, even though they could just sell the genetic material like little blood vials or something like that. But no, they have to sell the entire dinosaur. So I didn't really understand what was happening there. But then you get this weird thing with the little girl being cloned, And it seems like that's what Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom became about, that we can't let dinosaurs die because they were cloned and a human being got cloned. And that's the thing that technology could lead to. So I'm going, wait a second. You're telling me that the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movies are about human cloning now? That's the direction we took this thing in, of going, oh no, we could use this technology to clone people. Excuse me, but has it not been obvious for 20 plus years, ever since Dolly the sheep? Isn't it Dolly? I forget.
I believe so.
Yeah. In like, I think 97 got cloned. That we could clone animals. We could presumably even clone a person if we followed through. Like, it's illegal according to world law, but we could potentially do this. So then going, we've got the most interesting concept in the world. We've somehow managed to get the genetic material from dinosaurs, but that's not the interesting thing here. The interesting thing is that a person got cloned. Bum, bum, bum. And I'm like, why don't I watch a good sci-fi movie about cloning people? You guys literally went, the dinosaurs aren't that interesting. This little girl is interesting.
Yep. All right. So I do have, I think all three of us have very similar thoughts to this. But I will say that I think that it is interesting to introduce this new colleague of Hammond's, where you know he and Hammond had this kind of schism because of the fact that this other guy used Hammond's technology, or I guess the group of them's technology, in order to bring back his daughter. And that Hammond was like, that's not what this is supposed to be for. Like, what are you doing? This is, you know, against every like international law and everything. So I think that that's an interesting aspect. But yeah, it spends far too much time on this. It spends... the black market thing makes absolutely no sense. It's just an excuse to get the dinosaurs onto the mainland. That's all that it is.
Yeah,
but it takes up like 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, like half of the movie is that. The thing is that I'm saying, what I don't understand is, we already live in a world in which human cloning is, as far as I understand it, potentially possible. We don't live in a world in which dinosaurs can be de-extincted, right?
Yeah.
That, like, we don't live in a world where dinosaurs can possibly roam around. And then this movie is focusing in on the idea of, isn't this super frightening technology? We're in a world where we're dealing with potentially overpopulation, with well over 7 billion, almost 8 billion people on the planet. Wouldn't it be crazy if we came up with a way to add more people to the planet? And it's like, yeah, we're doing that all the time. New people are being made all the time. Not necessarily, like, not through cloning, but I'm going, like, you added another person who's been cloned. Okay, there's so many movies that can focus in, and have focused in, good science fiction films, on the ethics of cloning, on genetic engineering of human beings, and manipulating people at the genetic level. Whether you want, like, Gattaca is a really great film that focuses in on that. We've had great sci-fi on that topic. But then why in a movie about dinosaurs do we care? Like, as if, like, this girl's like, no, I have to set them free because I was cloned and they were cloned. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I went to, SeaWorld, and then I'm like, I've got to rescue the dolphins because they had a live birth and I was born live. I wasn't born through an egg. We are exactly the same. We came into the world through the same means. Then I'm just like trying to, like, grab a dolphin and run out to the ocean with it. Like, I have to free you because we've got this very, very, like, general connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think the whole second movie should have taken place on the island and then ended with I think the final shot of the movie should have been the big uh herbivore just getting covered in the smoke, and then that's it. Just Chris Pratt's reaction to it,
Mm.
because I think that would have been a extremely good ending. And then in the third one, then you can have them get to them, like show that they've gotten to the mainland, and then all the dinosaurs break out and do whatever. Just because the island stuff is way more interesting, and like that is like when they're doing the auctioning, then like the characters have the same choice to make at the end of the movie as they did when they were saving them from the island.
Yep.
And so it's like, except for they choose to let the dinosaurs die, but not really, because then some little girl is like, well, no, I want the dinosaurs to live because I'm cloned too. Or it's just like, it's just pointless. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just they should have just done the island stuff and then been like, okay, yeah, the dinosaurs need to die, but then, well, or like at least that should be the main character's final thoughts. I feel like, is that, all right, we've realized now through being on the island, and even like I think what they should have done with the Indoraptor is just have always been a dinosaur that was there, but they didn't want to release it to the public yet. They were waiting to have it be a big announcement, kind of like the Indominus Rex. Um, and then, but it breaks out when there's, because of like the volcano or whatever. You can make whatever general reason that you want, and then I think that way you can bring in the Indoraptor to the movie, but then like just have the rest of the movie be them escaping the volcano and dealing with the dinosaurs, and then have like the main characters realize that that dinosaurs should not exist anymore, but then all of the people who are with them bring the dinosaurs onto the ships anyway, and then they leave, and that's the end of the movie. I think that would be a much more interesting movie than what we got.
Mm.
I'm fine with the second half of the movie being off of the island, um, if they had a better reason for it than
Yeah,
black
I
market
agree.
sales thing. Because I do think that, you know, it can, I mean, I don't want to say that it can only be entertaining for so long, because obviously you can make, I mean, Mad Max Fury Road is a perfect example of how you can stretch out one thing and it is still, fantastic the entire way through. Um, but so, like, them escaping from, the volcano erupting, sure, that could have been the entire movie, but I do like this. I like seeing more of it, and I'm fine with the decision. Well, I'm not fine with the decision that they make, but I'm fine with what happens at the end, where the dinosaurs are released, and then it's like, oh, now they live with us, and that final shot with Jeff Goldblum's voiceover, I think uh, is really good. Like, that
Mhm.
works really well. But absolutely everything about the cloning is, it's just like the cloning of the daughter
Yeah.
didn't need to be in there, bogged down
Mhm.
the whole thing. Everything about this black market thing that nobody seems to even really understand.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay, I'm sorry, but what in the world? Okay, the Indoraptor, you have to point a laser at something
Yeah.
for a
And
certain amount of
and
time
have it make a sound.
Yeah.
in order to tell the Indoraptor, what to go after. And I saw this comment online, and it's so true. And just, if you can point a rifle at somebody, why do you need to have a dinosaur kill them? You could just have it be an actual gun.
Yeah.
That's a great point for one thing. Another thing that I would like to add is it is so idiotic. This just feels like just terrible, terrible Hollywood filmmaking.
Yeah.
The idea that a raptor is the most dangerous predator in the history of the world,
Yeah.
and that like even like that whatever it's called, the Indoraptor thing is just so dangerous we can use this in war. And it's just like, okay, have you guys never heard of nuclear weapons or a predator drone? What those things are capable of doing? Like, a dinosaur doesn't stand a chance in comparison to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
like one nuclear submarine with multiple warheads on it. Do you know what I mean? It could be like anywhere in the world. You can't find it. It's like almost impossible to track, or you get like ridiculous like fighter jets that they have, like stealth fighters and stuff like that, plus unmanned drones that can do all kinds of things. And it's going, but a dinosaur, this is gonna change the world. I'm like,
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, I feel like what's the difference between using a raptor and like a lion or something? Like, I mean, I feel like there would be a big backlash if like people in America found out that the army is using lions because they're animals. But like, you think it's gonna be different just because it's a dinosaur? Because like, we already found out that they like dinosaurs too, and like, it's just like, why wouldn't you just use a lion or something like that? Like, it's the same thing. But I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, and jumping back to what you're talking about before, Tyler, like when it comes to the like the whole subplot with this girl and she's been cloned, I think the thing that I find offensive about it is that it's suggesting that the only reason we can have compassion for the sanctity of life, of dinosaur life, is if like she gets it but nobody else does, because she recognizes something of her in the dinosaurs, of going,
Right.
I've been cloned and I shouldn't be here, but I am here, and so I've got this deep connection to them, and I have a right to life, and so do these dinosaurs too. As though nobody else can express compassion. Like, but the entire film up until this point had been belying that entire premise, that only a person who's cloned could have compassion for these dinosaurs. Because you see the way like the island, the volcano starts destroying the island, and that shot of whatever it is, a brachiosaurus or whatever it is, that's just standing there on the edge, and it's just, you can see the cloud of dust, you know, entombing it, and it's just plaintively looking at them. And it's, I would say, very, very difficult for somebody to not be moved by that, to not feel for that dinosaur and all of the dinosaurs on this island. That seeing an innocent animal just die doesn't feel good. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who's going, well, how did it come to be? You know, was it artificially inseminated? Well, if so, I don't care. I wasn't, so I can't
Yeah.
identify with that. You know what I mean? But then somebody is like, you know what I mean? Like, no, you can't kill that cow. It was artificially inseminated. And I know that my mom was artificially inseminated, so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. Like, that's the kind of logic that the movie has, and it's so insulting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, the change that the main characters have of, yes, we need to save these dinosaurs who are going to,
Yeah.
you know, be wiped out by
entire
a natural
movie.
disaster, but oh, it's
We'll
going to
let
be
them
chemical.
Choked
yeah.
to death in a castle?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Oh no, man-made chemicals are killing the dinosaurs. I guess we should just let them die. What?
It made
Yeah.
no sense. It made no sense. And then they have this little girl who pushes the button, and then they're just like, oh, you were brave enough to make that ethical decision that we were so torn about. And I'm just, this is so dumb.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess what the movie is trying to suggest is that they are concerned about letting dinosaurs run around alongside humans, but it's still just like, I don't care. Like, it's
Even
not that big of a
that-
deal. How many dinosaurs are there? There's not
Yeah.
that many.
It's like
Yeah.
20
there
or
was-
30.
Yeah. And there's only one raptor.
Yeah. And on top of the fact that, like I say, we've kind of got billions of people on the planet, on multiple continents. We've even got people in space. We've got people in Antarctica. We've got people on completely isolated islands in all kinds of oceans all around the world. People up in the Arctic, in Canada, in Russia, in Greenland. Okay, I think the Inuit people are perfectly safe. This ridiculous notion that Jeff Goldblum is constantly saying that, like, ooh, if we're not careful, dinosaurs will be here long after we're gone. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand why you think that this is even remotely a threat, that dinosaurs will take over the planet. They can't. It's just like zombies, people. They can't go north. They're gonna freeze to death.
Yeah, this okay. I really love the way that the film bookends this idea, not Jeff Goldblum bookending it, but this idea of, the Masiosaurus or whatever, the underwater one.
Oh yes.
The way that that's released at the beginning of the film, and it's like, oh no, it's now out in the open waters, and then
Yes.
we get to see all the dinosaurs running around the world at the end of the movie. Then I think that works really well, and I'm fine with the movie going to that place of dinosaurs running around the world.
Me too.
But
I'm more than fine with it.
yes,
Yeah.
I think it's a great choice. Like honestly,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I don't.
Stop making it sound like an existential threat to humanity.
Yeah,
That's
why?
just ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, and this is my big issue with these films that we didn't get really in the original Jurassic Park trilogy. The dinosaurs appear to be just bulletproof at this point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just so frustrating. I'm like, I don't get it.
A T-Rex can withstand anything.
Oh,
Do you know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like another super predator gnawing on its neck and like smashing it around and clawing it and like whatever. And it's like it's got a few scratches on here. And I'm going, there's no way. There's no way you would survive that. Do you know what I mean? If you had just alligators, for instance, if you have one alligator, you grab its head, you put it into the jaws of another alligator, you force that other alligator to bite down, watch what's going to happen. It's not like it's just going to be like, stop it, this is annoying. Right? It's so dumb that these things could withstand just about anything. And so, I mean, this would be my revision, because you guys gave a couple suggestions of what could have been done differently in this. So I think I agree with you, Tyler, and I think that's a really good point that what's that sea monster called? The sea dinosaur?
I believe it's a Masiosaurus?
Yeah.
A
Mosasaurus?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Masiosaurus, whatever it is. But the big sea dinosaur, the one that escapes at the beginning and then we see it at the end, that is great. I really do like the framing of that within this film. And that's essentially what I would like to see for the entire second film. I think what would be really interesting is if it's this whole debate and they're desperately trying to save these dinosaurs from the island, but they ultimately fail. Maybe they get a few and then they bring them to some safe location somewhere else, okay? But it's still a relatively isolated thing. But intercut in the midst of that is random scenes where you see people camping, like what we get at like Battle of Big Rock and whatever else, and there's little rumors of there's some predator out in the woods. Like people are saying that it's a bobcat, like a mountain lion, it's a this, that, whatever else, right? And you know what I mean? There's just some rumors. And then like it turns out that they've already been selling the genetic information. And you get to some other facility where things have gone wrong, and basically dinosaurs are already out.
Right.
Yeah. That if they're gonna turn this into a trilogy where dinosaurs are taking over the planet, you can't have your second film end with like a couple dozen, if that, just got released. And it's like, so it just seems pretty easy to take them out. That's not that many. But what it really needs to be is that they've been selling it to multiple people around the world and they've been getting out. Like they're not able to capture these things, and that they've been surviving out in the wild, but that there's way more than we thought. And that's where like the third one should pick up from. It should pick up from that. And then you go, This is a huge problem. We're not talking about a couple dozen dinosaurs in one specific part of the United States. Instead, we're talking about tens of thousands of dinosaurs, certainly like low thousands or hundreds, whatever you want to do, across the world, that they really are taking over big sections. And then it becomes that whole debate of, what do we do with these things? Do we try to, eliminate them? And because that there would be arguments from animal rights activists who would say that they have a right to exist and that we have to learn how to coexist with them. I mean, we've seen this happen in recent decades. I mean, if you're looking at, Yosemite, for instance, then the reintroduction of wolves to Yosemite. I think it's Yosemite, or to Yellowstone, not Yosemite, but to Yellowstone National Park. Then they reintroduced wolves because they were gone for decades. They reintroduced them, and people at first were not feeling great about it, and the wolves are doing great. You know what I mean? That like humans took out wolves, they took out all these predators as much as they could. But in recent decades, we've started realizing, we probably shouldn't be doing that. We actually do want to have predators, and all animals should be existing in the wild, and we just have to take precautions as human beings. You know what I mean? Like when you go out into the woods, like you wear bear bells, you know what I mean? Like they jingle when you're hiking, so that way you don't just sneak up on a bear and then it attacks you, right?
Right.
Like, as Canadians, and not just as Canadians, I mean, like plenty of people around the world deal with bears, right? That's just, it's one of those things of like, bears could definitely kill you if you got into a bad situation, but we just learn to live with them. You got to make sure that your food is up high off of the ground. Don't have a lot of stuff that smells. If you're in bear country, don't cook stuff, like don't cook meat on an open grill and then like just leave the remainders outside your tent. You know what I mean? Like don't do stupid stuff. And you'll be fine. And because bears ultimately don't really want to eat us, but if you jump out of nowhere or you get in between a mama bear and her cub, it's going to take you out. Like she's going to take you out. And so it just seems like that's the way society's been trending. And these movies are so out of step with that.
Yeah.
They're existing in this alternate universe where it's perfectly okay to allow these things to go extinct again. Can you possibly imagine that happening? Like,
no.
If somehow we were able to bring dinosaurs back and then it's just like, we're not sure if we should have brought them back. We're having a debate. Maybe we should have, maybe we shouldn't have. And then everybody's like, what if they all just died like this week? And everybody's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. No, I think that there should have been a not a bigger discussion, but certainly some reference to the fact that it's about cost and about like who would be fronting the bill for moving the dinosaurs, rather than just should we save them or not. And like that's not the discussion that would be happening. It would be, well, who's responsible for them? And InGen would be like, hey, we're bankrupt, we can't do anything. We're an American company, which means that the US should probably take care of them. But then the US is saying, well, it's in Costa Rica, so Costa Rica should, take care of it. And, have some kind of debate similar to that, I think.
Maybe.
It would be better.
It wouldn't be that expensive to evacuate those dinosaurs in comparison to like the bailout of the banks with the Great Recession or like bailing out like the big automakers. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be that bad. But and the reason why I brought up the idea before of having this black market, like I like the idea of selling the genetic material on the black market. I like the idea that people are screwing around with the genetic material and they're creating dinosaurs that really shouldn't be created. They're using them for nefarious purposes and they're not taking care of them, because this does happen. Exotic animals do get sold on the black market all the time. And, there are people who have exotic animals and they're not taking care of them appropriately and they're doing it for status and whatever else, right? Like, I mean, people will legitimately have tigers, you know what I mean? And like, that's crazy that just individual people buy them as a status symbol. And it's incredibly wealthy people who are doing this. And so I'm saying I like this idea that you have this auction, but the auction of the already fully formed dinosaurs? Like, that made no sense to me. How are they going to
Yeah.
transport them? What are these people going to do with these things? And it seems like they more want them to manipulate, like they want them for the genetic material. So that's what I'm saying, that if you just take that premise, you just say, well, you can extract all kinds of genetic material from a single dinosaur. Because like they were able to create Jurassic Park out of a mosquito in amber, if you're following the logic of this movie, of these movies. So then if you say, well, an entire dinosaur, you could produce like an untold number of dinosaurs because there's all kinds of genetic material in there. So why haven't they just been selling that on the black market? And then other people, even though it's completely illegal, are developing this, with some scientists who are maybe less scrupulous than others. Do you know what I mean? Who are really manipulating things, combining them in weird ways, using them for bad purposes, but ultimately they can't contain them and it just gets out of control, right? That more like a Planet of the Apes type of scenario than what we're getting here, of just it's going on all over, and ultimately you're going to get too many and they're going to go out of control, and then you're really dealing with Jurassic World. But we didn't get that, and so now I'm concerned for the third one, because I don't know what we're going to get there.
I do think the third one is going to be better, because like the director has pretty much said that the second one was pretty much just a stepping stone to the third one.
That was obvious. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's at least acknowledging this.
So like he obviously just wanted to make 1 and 3, and like the second one was just like
he didn't even direct. Colin Trevorrow, right? He didn't even direct the second one.
Okay, well, I think that was a good choice by the studio, but I mean, like,
but he's coming back for 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because he tweeted, I think he tweeted the title, which is New Era, for the third one, which, also apparently some characters are going to be returning from the original.
Did hear that, yeah.
And so it's like, it's definitely like the third one, like the first one was definitely wanted to be made, and same with the third one. It's just like the second one, we didn't really want to make it. We just wanted to make 1 and 3, but like we have to explain 3, so here's number 2. And and as Nathan said, it was very obvious.
Yeah, no, I do remember when Jurassic World, like the first one came out, then I do remember Colin Trevorrow stating that he had a vision for 3 films, which was cool. And then, and then to see the second one, just like, okay, you had this awesome idea for the first half of it, because he did work on the script for it, or at least the story.
Yes.
But then the second half, I have no idea. I don't know what happened there.
It's no good. It feels like the middle of a TV season. Of just killing time on screen.
It only feels like 1 episode too. Like it's just like, oh, we have this idea for a movie or for an episode where like there's just like these people in this house with an Indoraptor running around killing them, and that's cool. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's make this episode. And then they're like, all right, but this is a huge movie, and we're gonna do that as the second part of the movie. It's like it's the kind of the same problem as the Lost World Jurassic Park, where it's like that feels like a spinoff. This feels like a TV episode. But and like, so it's kind of having the same problem as that, where it doesn't feel like it should be the second movie of a trilogy. It feels like it should be like a spinoff or something.
Totally.
It's like a good idea for a spinoff, but like they don't have any big picture as a part of it, or like they do, just they're not doing it in a good way.
And I think that really it feels like 2 episodes.
Yes, it feels like 2 episodes.
And that is series. And that's the problem, or one of the problems with this. Because they're, other than that, that book ending that they have in it, there's nothing really that,
Oh.
connects the first half to the second half.
Yeah.
Other than the characters completely changing their mind about saving dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. Like,
Yeah.
so there's really like, I don't know why. Yeah, there there has to have been a better way to have
There
done
definitely
this.
is a better way. Like
Yeah.
there's so many better ways of doing it. But the thing is, and it's weird because I'm not usually much of a fan of sequels, because sequels, and I mean, like, that's not a controversial statement, but I mean, generally speaking, everybody agrees that sequels are not as good as the original. I'm saying generally speaking, there are exceptions to this, right? But generally speaking, they're not as good. But usually the reason why a sequel is not as good is because they try to do too much. They try to go too big, and they try to take the same premise but then make it somehow bigger, increase the stakes without decreasing the tension and suspense from the first one. But this one doesn't do that at all. Like, and it's really weird because I'm going, well, if they tried to just make it even bigger and crazier than the first one, then it would not have been a great idea. But instead, they go much smaller, much smaller in the second one. And it feels so much like a stepping stone to the third one. And if I paid money for this in the theater, I would definitely be disappointed. I would feel like, well, why didn't I just wait until, just before the third one came out? I watched this on DVD, and then I go and watch the third one. That'll probably be worth the price of admission.
Yeah. Especially considering that the first half is so much better than the second half.
Yes. Yes.
Because that just, you feel really cheated after that. You're just like, oh, come on.
That's exactly that's what I told you before when we were talking, Tyler, off air. Then I said that I was really, really enjoying these movies, right? Because I had not seen Fallen Kingdom, and then I watched the second half of it, and I went, well, what happened?
All right, we should hop into Jurassic World 1, which I think we can all agree is the best Jurassic Park movie since Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, great. It has absolutely everything that I wanted in a sequel, that I could ever want in a sequel to the original Jurassic Park. As you had mentioned, Nathan, like, the park is open. We've got, this. I love the fact that they develop a new dinosaur for a theme park reason, a very theme park reason of, attendance is starting to dip a little bit. We have to get people in the gate again. And it's just like, that's absolutely what would happen. It's like, people aren't excited by regular dinosaurs anymore. Now we need to do these hybrids. Like, yes.
And it makes so much sense that is exactly what would happen if dinosaurs somehow came back from extinction. Then at first, everyone would lose their minds over this.
Yeah.
But after a certain period of time, interest would start to wane. It really would. Like, it would. And this film does such a great job of picking up from that point.
And on that note, another problem with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is the what does she call herself? The paleo veterinarian. Then she says that she's never actually seen a real dinosaur before. I'm like, how are you a paleo veterinarian then?
I don't understand how she got to have that job title. Like,
she's like, really... my family couldn't afford to, go to Jurassic World. It's like, okay, but how
are you an expert on dinosaur anatomy and
actually
actually working with it?
Like some sort of like on-site, training or something in order to have that title.
Yep, I agree. Didn't make any sense.
That's such a small note, but it was like so stupid.
It was a weird little addition of like a nod towards class issues. And it didn't really make sense because the film rejects that logic in a couple different ways. Like, as you say, Tyler, like if she's actually an expert in this field, if she went to school for it, surely that was part of her tuition. What university did she graduate from if they never gave her access to dinosaurs? Right? Like, that doesn't make any sense, for one thing. But second of all, it shows that Jurassic World is very accessible for regular people. Right, that it talked about the numbers that they were getting, and that was not like what you saw at the beginning of The Lost World, where it's this, British couple on a yacht on a private cruise. Do you know what I mean? That they end up at the island. Instead, it's just like they're churning out these giant ships to get people to the island and from the island, and it doesn't seem that expensive to go.
Actually, on that note, I have one major gripe about Jurassic World, like the first one, which is that they are constantly referencing the fact that they have 20,000 people in the park, which sounds like a big number, but it's not.
That's not a big number.
In theme park,
that's not a big number at all.
No, for any theme park, like Disney sees, I just did a quick search, and of course this is all, approximates and guesstimations, but it's about 50,000 people per day. So if you're telling me that Jurassic World, this, huge thing, like the only park in the world that has dinosaurs, is only getting 20,000 per day, and they're like, "Ooh, it's a busy day." No, it's not. Canada's Wonderland up here, it's, a world-class amusement park, but even still, like, it's not the biggest, park in the world. And it sees, 35, 45,000 people a day sometimes. So, yeah,
I hear you. I mean, I think maybe they felt like they were limited in space being on this island in some way or something. But, I mean, one thing that I love about it as an amusement park is, and in addition to the idea that interest is starting to wane, so they add in what do they call that stupid dinosaur?
The Indominus Rex.
Indominus Rex. That in addition to that, I love the fact that they somehow made real live dinosaur attractions lame.
Right.
Because that's what would happen. And I'm going, how is it even possible to make this park lame and dorky? And then you see it like with, multiple instances of like the petting zoo with like the little ones. That doesn't really look that interesting. And like they're in the slowest, snow globe possible, rolling through a field, just rolling as slow as possible. Even that looked pretty cool. But I'm saying that like people are still like, oh, this is not that exciting. You know what I mean? It's
well, I mean, it becomes infinitely less exciting because you've got Jimmy Fallon doing
exactly. Yes, Jimmy Fallon doing the little video walkthrough while you're in that rolling
ball.
Is
this real? Oh, I got it in my eye. Get out of here. Get out of my movie.
That's exactly it. I feel like it would end up playing out like that. And so the actual owners of the park and all of the management and leadership, they would ultimately try to spice it up and jazz it up in some way.
I know that a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, a lot of critics, I suppose, commented about the amount of product placement in Jurassic World. It's so perfect. Of course, you're going to have every single company imaginable wants to have a store there, wants to have, like, whether it's like Dairy Queen or, Baskin Robbins or Pandora, like, absolutely Pandora would have, a shop there and just be selling all those little bracelet trinket things about dinosaurs. Like, come on. And they're exclusive to, you can only get them in Jurassic World. Like, I don't know.
It made sense to me, but I mean, I understand why people have issues with it. Because it's a criticism of commercial filmmaking in general, and saying you're doing it for commercial reasons and you're not doing it for artistic reasons. But it's like, I don't know how you tell this story without doing
Yeah.
that, having those product placements. It's just from an artistic perspective, like you could just, I guess, have, fictional stores, retailers, but that would take people out of the movie.
Yeah.
That's my issue. Whenever
Yeah.
I'm watching a movie that has fictional retailers and stores, I would much rather just give me the real thing, because then I can actually buy that this is taking place in the real world.
Yeah.
Instead, whenever they have fictional things, I'm always just like, this isn't a place I recognize.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. But yeah, I totally agree that like the Indominus Rex, I think, was like a great idea because like even if like there wasn't enough like attendance or anything like that, like even if like it was popular and like it had stayed popular, I feel like eventually they would be like, we should get new attractions and like why not make our own dinosaur? Wouldn't that be so cool? And like so I think that is a great idea just because like well the attendance is down and I mean we're people, we like to create our own things, so like eventually they would be like, oh, like dinosaurs are cool but like how can we make them better? What if we make our own where they have like the traits of a velociraptor and a T-Rex? And so I feel like it was just such a great idea on like pretty much every level. And so yeah, I just really like the Indominus Rex as well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then, and then of course you get people complaining online that, oh, see, they couldn't make a Jurassic Park movie interesting with real dinosaurs. They had to create this hybrid dinosaur. And it's like, that, yes. Like, they obviously could have made another Jurassic Park movie that was as, scary as, or entertaining or whatever as the originals. But, uh, but the fact of the matter is, most people are not impressed by seeing, these big dinosaurs on screen anymore. That,
Yeah.
you need to have those hybrids. And again, it makes sense from a story perspective when you are exploring this park that's been open for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
It makes sense from a story perspective, but that's absolute nonsense that people will not be excited by the same dinosaurs. I mean, you can, as somebody who watches a lot of independent films and a lot of independent thrillers, you can make things incredibly suspenseful and exciting depending on how you do it. It's an MCU argument that it always has to be bigger and more exciting with more special effects, that's what audiences want. I should try to restrain myself, but that's what slack-jawed morons want. That's not it's just good filmmakers can make anything exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you absolutely can. I mean, if you watch Hitchcock films, then you're going to look at this and I mean, he had essentially no special effects. It's, camera tricks, but for the most part, like he's not dealing with really prosthetics even. He's not dealing with anything to do with like computer generated imagery, and his films are incredibly suspenseful that you could make. You don't have to have new dinosaurs to make these movies suspenseful. You just have to get the dinosaurs doing things and putting characters that we care about into really frightening situations. But the like your explanation of it, Tyler, does hold up in the sense that within the story world, audiences going to Jurassic World would want to see a new, different dinosaur. And they'd want it to be bigger and scarier and whatever else. But the Jurassic World movies could have just the same dinosaurs that we've seen before and make them incredibly frightening. I mean, if you gave this to a horror director, and then you tell the horror director, I want you to make the most frightening Jurassic Park movie ever, but you can't use any new dinosaurs. You can only use T-Rexes and raptors and whatever else. I guarantee you it would be way more frightening than any Jurassic Park movie we've ever seen before. It would be. So you don't need to.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I think that it's, you get bogged down with like the idea of the Indoraptor being introduced in Fallen Kingdom. I don't understand that. because, as you said, like, you can just use the same dinosaurs that you already have. You already have one hybrid that's, really, really crazy awesome. You don't need, okay, now we've got another new dinosaur for the new movie.
Uh-huh.
That's when I go, okay, this is problematic. But
Yes.
in Jurassic World, then I'm like, this totally makes sense, 100%. And the Indominus Rex is close enough to a raptor and to a T-Rex that you understand, enough about it that you don't need to have, this whole long-winded explanation about it. But the fact that, they don't know everything about it either is also really, really great because you never really know what, like genetic, I mean, life finds a way, right? As Jeff
Yes.
Goldblum put it, that you're gonna have some surprises along the way. That you go, oh, I didn't know that it was gonna take that trait, but cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I do think that the Indoraptor could have been done. Like, I think it's a good idea, just I don't like what they did with it and like how its trait is just like if you point this gun at it, it will attack that person. Like, I think that's stupid, but I like the idea of another dinosaur that's been like modified because like I think that it like I think humans would do that if there was dinosaurs out there and they created one and they were like, oh, we made some new hybrid, then I feel like they would be like, well, if we can do make a hybrid using those dinosaurs, what can we do with other dinosaurs and try to make another one? So I think that it's a good idea. I just don't like how it was done in Fallen Kingdom and that its trait is point the gun at somebody and they will get killed by the dinosaur.
Yeah. I mean, to
yeah.
me, the part of the issue is that they're introducing new dinosaurs. Okay, fine. Can you do this? Yes. Can you do this successfully? Sure. But they're introducing new dinosaurs, but then they're watering down the old dinosaurs. And they're
Yeah.
turning the old dinosaurs into protagonists when they were
Mhm.
antagonists. And that's what's frustrating. The reason why
Yeah.
these old dinosaurs can't carry a Jurassic Park movie anymore, according to some people, if somebody's got that kind of ridiculous notion, it's because in Jurassic World, then this Indominus Rex just is a merciless killing machine that goes and kills all of the Brachiosauruses or Brachiosauri in the field for no reason without eating them, right? You remember how it does this. And
Yeah.
then, you're like, oh no, this thing is awful. And then don't worry, our hero, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, will come
Mhm.
in and fight it, and it's going to fight on our side. And then the Raptors are going to fight on our side. And then in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, then Blue is going to fight on our side against the
Yeah.
Indoraptor. And the T Rex will be on our side against all of these things. That ultimately you've turned what were not villains but antagonists, these threatening
Yeah.
creatures that are really frightening, monstrous things, you've
Mhm.
turned them into the good guys versus the bad guys. And the bad guys are now the new
Yeah.
genetically altered dinosaurs with the villains who have created them. And instead of saying just what a frightening world it would be if dinosaurs in general were on the loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you, but just to play devil's advocate here, the end of the first Jurassic Park, the raptors are attacking them, and then the T-Rex comes and eats one of them, and then the raptors are too distracted by the T-Rex. And so then at that point, the T-Rex is saving them.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I mean there is that, but the T-Rex has been the antagonist throughout the entire film.
Hmm.
If
Mhm.
you look at this, the raptors in Jurassic World, he's taming them. And then in
Right.
Jurassic
Yeah.
World Fallen Kingdom, it goes a step further. This is why I'm saying that I think we're one movie away from having Air Bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it shows that like Blue, like he goes like this. He's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then Blue is like, oh no, are you okay? Let me like cuddle you and comfort you. That
Yeah.
the Raptors have been established to be essentially good guys, but that T-Rex in the original Jurassic Park, it was a convenient ally, but it
Hmm.
certainly was not on their side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to in the new movies, with the Raptors being on their side until they aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like they're playing them off of each other and turning them into protagonists and antagonists and getting away from, to me, what these movies should be about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that I had joked during the intro about this idea of in the next movie, then then somebody is going to be genetically modified to be able to speak to the raptor, right?
Yeah.
What if the clone girl has been genetically modified with some sort of dinosaur DNA, and she ends up saving the day because she has some connection with the dinosaurs?
Right.
And she should be added to the MCU. She can be the first
Yes. Dino Girl.
Yeah.
It's sad that is a legitimate possibility, isn't it?
The way they teased us about her ultimate importance was so dumb. But like, so let's briefly talk about some characters here, because I feel like this is relevant, that we do have some, like, I think that I forget the character's name, but the character that Chris Pratt is playing, what's the Owen? Yes. Okay. So he's a great character, really interesting. He's not a paleontologist, but he's been working with these raptors, and he's got all the traits of a good hero in an action adventure movie. And then you've got Bryce Dallas Howard. Now, what's her character name?
It's really sad that I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I only know Chris Pratt's name in the movies, and I still refer to him as just Chris Pratt.
Right.
Business lady.
Yeah, so I mean, we do have business lady in this. Let me try to find the character name here. Cast. Let me see.
But yeah,
Claire. I thought that it was Claire. So Claire Deering. Okay. The interesting thing is that she goes through a really interesting development as a character. She has a lot of growing, but her in Jurassic World, because first she is, of course, completely obsessed with her career, and she hasn't seen her nephews in, I forget what it is, something like 7 years or something like that. It's been a long time. She hardly even recognizes them. And then she kind of ditches them on her assistant, but ultimately she starts to realize the value of family and the importance of, extended family and her nephews and all of that. And that she's changed so much as a person, because by the second film, I don't think she even mentions the fact that she has nephews. How ridiculous is that? That's so mean to her as a character, that they did a good job in the first film in allowing her character to grow through the events of the film. And then the second film, she's at first this animal rights activist, which is like, wow, that's a huge change from who we first met at the beginning of Jurassic World, that she's just corporate everything and does not even see these things as living beings. They're just, profit margins and things on a margin sheet, on a ledger. That ultimately she comes to appreciate and respect them and the importance of family. And then she becomes an animal rights activist, except not really by the end. Then she's okay with them all dying. And so the second film has got so many missteps. And even with Chris Pratt's character, with Owen, he just doesn't care about the raptors in the second movie. He like, they were his everything. That was his life. And then he's just like, oh, I'm now building a house out in the country with my trailer, and I live in the middle of nowhere. And these things that were the most important part of my life, that we see no family for him. There's no mention of parents, siblings, nieces, nephews, anything. He's got nothing else in his life except for these raptors. And then he's like, oh yeah, they can die. Does that make sense with the first film? Was there any rational explanation of why his character would change so dramatically from the first one to the second one? That's what I'm saying. Like, follow the characters through, and then you've got such one-dimensional characters with the squad, like, I don't know how else to refer to them. Paleontologist veterinarian girl who's got her glasses and her sassy attitude, and like she's all plucky and strong, an independent woman. And then you've got the super limp wrist, dorky IT guy who screams about everything, that he gets brought along for this whole journey.
This really is a lot like The Lost World, like how it's just like it feels like a spin-off, and also every character is basically just a generic, as the most generic character as possible, except for the main characters who have completely changed from who they were in the first one.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like
That's a great point, Luke.
just like The Lost World. Like
I would like to point out, though, in The Lost World, we at least did get to briefly see the two characters from the two kids from the first movie.
Yes.
Which is good. You know, clearly they are still part of Hammond's life.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Whereas in Fallen Kingdom, Claire's nephews just
as far as I can tell, she doesn't even mention that they exist. I don't think there's a single line about them.
I don't think so either.
Like it feels so awful that they did a good job of establishing her as a character and the personal growth that she goes through, and the fact that she cares for them. And then at the beginning of the second film, then it's like everything that I don't know if Colin Trevorrow, I know, has story credit on both of them, but I don't know who wrote the script for the Jurassic World versus Fallen Kingdom. But it feels like if essentially, let me try to come up with it this way. Here's an analogy. Imagine that you've got a football team that start on the 1 yard line, right? And then they work their way all the way down to the 10-yard line of the opposing team. And then for whatever reason, the quarterback's like, you know what? I'm done. I got injured, or like I took a hard hit. Send in the backup QB, and the backup QB just like throws it in the opposite direction. Just tries to like kicks it towards the other, end zone. It just felt like, why did I work so hard to bring it all the way here to take a character like Claire, who is so independent and isolated and corporate minded and cold and brutal in a lot of ways, that she just doesn't seem to care about anybody, but to bring her on this huge progression, and then at the beginning of the second film to just be like, yeah, all of that hard work is gone. Everything to do with Owen, that's gone. It's just like they set you up with well-established, likable characters who are empathetic, or like we can have compassion for them. We can admire some of their traits, and then to just abandon all of those. I go, that's so frustrating when you have established characters that people like and they have depth, and then you blow it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so I on the note of characters, BD Wong playing Dr. Wu, is that right? I think so.
I know it's BD Wong. I love him as an actor. I don't think I've ever disliked him in any role.
Yeah, no, he's great. Okay, I think that he is playing a really great role in both films as this villain. Who's, very much like he's working at Jurassic World, and he's got all these, plans, right, to build this unstoppable dinosaur thing. He's having so much fun with it. And then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, okay, he's a bit more straightforward villain in that, but at least he's kind of like, hey, we shouldn't be selling this one. Like, it doesn't have any compassion because it doesn't have a mother. Okay, yeah. I'm still buying that. And then they kill him off. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? He wasn't that bad. He wasn't a true villain, even though he was villainous.
And he would have been an interesting character in the third one because of all the stuff that happens, like the dinosaurs being loosed, and how he would feel about that.
How about if in the third movie he had to be recruited to come up with some kind of contagion that would infect all the dinosaurs?
Exactly.
And you know, because I'm sure that you know this, but he's in the first Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
the thing is, you look at this and you go, who do we have left in this film universe who is more closely tied to everything to do with the
Yeah.
de-extinction of the dinosaurs, except for his character? And
Yep.
then you kill him off.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like, it seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other issue, of course, is that he, for some reason, needs of a living raptor in order to make more raptor clones. Why is that the one dinosaur that he doesn't have any genetic material for?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's fascinating how sharp a decline the Fallen Kingdom has from
Yeah.
Jurassic World.
Yeah. Mhm.
I agree. I mean, like that's the thing is that I feel like because we've spent more time talking about it than we have about Jurassic World, but because it's there's there's so much that's going right in Jurassic World and so much that's going
Yeah.
wrong in Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
it continues to amaze me when I feel like sequels should be easier to make than it seems.
Right.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm like, how do you screw this up? Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like a sequel can be really hard to make if you don't have any of the actors from the original film, right?
Yeah.
Or if you've only got one of them. You saw that with The Lost World, where you've got Jeff Goldblum, but you don't have Sam Neill's character with Grant and with oh, what's the other paleontologist? Ellie, is that
Ellie.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That you don't have Grant, you don't have Ellie, but you still have Jeff Goldblum. And so it's like, yeah, you've kind of only got half of your cast. But this one, you've still got Chris Pratt, you've got Bryce Dallas Howard,
Mhm.
you've got BD Wong, who's reprising his role. Like it just, you've got Jurassic World, like with this island with all of these fully formed dinosaurs, like everything seems to be there that you could go in so many different directions. And instead, they're like, what if the island is on fire from a volcano and they all die? And it's like, I don't like where this is going. And
Yeah.
then we spend the rest of the time in a like mansion, in some castle, in
With a
in the
clone
basement.
girl.
In the basement of a castle with a cloned girl, and there's going to be an auction, and like that's literally going to be it. Like,
Yay.
and then it'll be one dinosaur chasing around a bunch of people in a castle, and they somehow
Yeah.
cannot get to a single part of this mansion where the dinosaur can't get them. That I didn't understand either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if I were the little girl, wouldn't like she goes into the the dumbwaiter.
Dumbwaiter.
Yeah. Why not just hang out in the dumbwaiter in between floors? Just wait it
Yeah.
out, kid. Give it a few hours, you'll be fine. Instead, they're constantly moving into more and more dangerous, exposed places for no reason. Just hunker down, especially for her. What's she going to do? How's she going to help anybody? Instead, she goes to her room and gets under the blankets and pulls them up to her. She doesn't even go under the bed.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on. You know why she had to do that. For the image of the shadow on the wall of the claw.
Yes.
Yeah, great shot for the trailers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not the first trailer, though. Only the later
That's right.
trailer.
It is a great image, but then when you watch it,
Yeah.
then you go, "This sucks."
Yeah.
How do you ruin this image?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been, after the dinosaurs escape, then yeah, you have that image of,
Right.
just some random little girl
There you
in a
go.
house.
you
There we go.
Yeah, totally. But instead, she knows the dinosaurs are on the loose. She goes to her bedroom and then she gets under the blankets. That's just gift wrap. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you
That's-
telling
that's
me
not gonna-
if you were a kid in this situation, you wouldn't run and lay under your blankets?
No.
I mean, that would totally be my first thought if I was a kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
No, definitely not. That is
Yeah.
not what I would do at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is the thing, is that with Jurassic World, it seems pretty I don't want to say like surface level, because it's certainly not that, but it's pretty, easy to understand what's going on in terms of character, in terms of, stakes. Everything is really easy to understand. And then with Fallen Kingdom, I think everyone just leaves that movie, if you've got a brain, then you leave that movie going like, I have 3 million questions, and the film is not interested in any of them.
Correct.
Who are all these
Yeah.
people at the auction? Why does it need a gun in order to
Yeah.
shoot
It's
the...
not just the laser. The thing is like it's like the
Yeah,
sound
it's
that they
also a
have,
sound.
the sound effect.
Yeah. How long do you need to wait before you're able to push the button? I don't know.
And if you've
Yeah,
got millions of dollars to spend and you need to like take somebody out, why not just get a predator drone or
Yeah.
like hire a team of assassins who will do it for far less than a raptor?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
or an Indoraptor.
Why
You
does
get some
nobody
scuzzy
else...
lowlife.
Yeah. Why does nobody else know about this clone girl?
Yeah.
Good point. What? Yeah.
I have so many. Why is carnivore DNA or carnivore blood just freely, transferable? You can use T-Rex
Apparently,
blood in raptors. Like, nah, that's fine.
this girl
Close
who's
enough.
never seen a dinosaur in her entire life just knows this to be true and is able to do this no problem. Um,
Goodness.
so, with all that being said, I still actually think that the third one has got, I think more likely than not, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this just feels so much like a placeholder of let's just get us to the third one where it's going to be really interesting because dinosaurs are going to be on the loose all over the place.
Yeah.
And that seems like a much more interesting premise than whatever this thing was supposed to be about. And the YouTube short film that you guys told me about, and I did watch it, the Battle at Big Rock, right? And if anybody like is unfamiliar with this, then they released it in the fall of last year.
It was in like October or November or something like that. Well, probably October, I think.
Okay, so the fall of 2019.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. It's free. It's just Jurassic World Battle at Big Rock. Am I getting it right?
I think that's the title.
So you can go ahead and watch. It's like 10 minutes or something like that, and it is, basically the premise is you've got these people who are camping, and look out because the woods have now got dinosaurs in them, and just like the woods have got predators right now, that there are wolves and bears and venomous snakes and all kinds of stuff like that you have to be careful when you go out into the wilderness, and that dinosaurs are just a new thing to be careful about. So apparently dinosaurs have been successful in the wild, that they haven't wrangled all of them, that Jurassic World is not just a park, but Jurassic World as in the world is becoming more Jurassic, that we're getting dinosaurs all over. That seems like a great way to take these movies, like a great direction.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to happen. And I did look this up. Apparently the third one, there are a few announcements about it, that there's going to be the original stars. It says that Pratt and Howard will reprise their roles for the film, and then Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and Laura Dern will reprise their characters as well. So it's going to be based off of a story by Trevorrow and Connolly. I'm not sure who Connolly is here.
Yes, Derek Connolly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Derek Connolly worked on Kong Skull Island as well. He has a bunch of different films under his belt. And last I heard, he was signed on to write the Metal Gear Solid movie.
Okay.
So that's how I, am familiar with him.
The one that you wanted to write. Well, I
Yes.
guess you did write, but they didn't buy it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, and then there's also going to be this Camp Cretaceous series that I was telling you about. It's scheduled sometime in 2020, and it's a co-production between Netflix and DreamWorks. So
Yeah.
anyway, it will be good as far as the third film. I like the fact that they're getting all of these stars back together. I hope they can somehow get Ian Malcolm's character to not be an irritating, like, complete jerk. Like, because they've got Jeff Goldblum. How do you make him like unlikable? It just seems so difficult to do, and yet you had that with the second film, and then even with Fallen Kingdom, with The Lost World, and then Fallen Kingdom, he's not great.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And getting back to the discussion that we had on the Jurassic Park trilogy, we all, I think, first film is definitely the best. Second one is the worst. And then the third one is kind of a happy medium. Hopefully, we're looking at the same thing for the Jurassic World films. Although I would love to have Jurassic World 3 be better than Jurassic World 1.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be the best film in this trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jurassic World, like I said, I think that's in part because I did watch, like The Lost World and then Jurassic Park 3 just before I watched it. So it does hold up pretty well, I think, in comparison to those movies. And it really is great seeing, like, to me, the first half of the film, I think, is more interesting than the second half of the film, of just seeing the park and just see the park in operation, and as more of an adventure movie than an action adventure movie.
Right.
But it's just it's cool to see these people interacting with the dinosaurs. Of course, everybody wants it to lead to this whole catastrophe, and the catastrophe part is fun. Yeah. But I don't think it's as fun as going on a tour of this fictional park that I think everybody would love to go and visit.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is the first Jurassic Park teases us with this idea of how cool that park actually would be, but we never really get to see it in operation. But then to see a park like that in operation is really, really interesting. And then as far as the third film that I'm going, but if dinosaurs are just kind of all over the place and everybody is vulnerable and they're going to do who knows what now that they're out in the wild, and what kind of debates is the world going to be forced to have in regards to what do you do with them? Do you just, try to enclose different, sections and have preserves for them? And or do you like try to kill them, or do you try to somehow cohabitate with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's got everything going for it. If it ends up being bad, then this franchise should just never be touched again.
I agree, because I don't know what they can do if they screw this up. You said, Tyler, in the last discussion that they basically said with Jurassic World that The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 just don't exist in the film universe, that it just goes Jurassic Park and then Jurassic World and then Fallen Kingdom. That the other two just don't exist. And the thing is that the only way I think that they could fix this, if the third one ends up being bad, and I don't know, I guess I'm feeling a little bit less optimistic now that I'm thinking about how the first film was it positioned the second film to be successful, and then they just totally messed it up. And I'm worried, because I'm like, well, the third one seems like it's so well positioned to be successful, but the second one was well positioned to be successful. So anyway, but if they do screw it up, then I think the only thing that you could do would be to do a full reboot of the series.
I agree.
Yeah. No,
just start over from scratch. And do different stuff with it, because the premise is, I feel like there is still so much life to this story. The premise of dinosaurs coming back from extinction. They're not fictional creatures. They really did exist. They roamed the earth, and the idea that creatures like that have literally been on the same planet that we exist on, and you look at them, the size of them, like their talons and claws, and the size of their jaws and all of that stuff, like their teeth. Like when you go to a museum and you see these skeletons, just imagining the fact that thing was just at some point wandering around on Earth, does that not just
Yeah.
like instill you with a sense of awe of how
Yeah.
like small we are in comparison to that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's uh, again something that we had talked about in the last discussion on the Jurassic Park trilogy is that there was a lack of majesty in regards to the dinosaurs
Yes.
in both The Lost World and Jurassic Park. um, and they definitely brought that back for the first half of Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And you're right,
Yeah.
Jurassic World, it really is. I think once they got into the Raptors, that was when it started to go downhill. Because I think that
Yeah.
the Indominus Rex is awesome. I think that
Mhm.
its Rampage is great. Um,
Yep.
the fact that everything goes wrong so quickly, despite them having all these precautions and everything, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that the CEO or whatever, when he's in the helicopter, and you get that line earlier about him, like, oh yeah, I've got a couple more lessons, it's fine, and like whatever. But then to have him like crash into the bird cage, I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
It's got another name, but I don't remember what the aviary or something.
Yes, I think that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and the fact that that just releases all the pterodactyls, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, I think that when they focused so much on the Raptors and uh, Chris Pratt's relationship with the Raptors, then that was when it started to go like, okay, I don't really care about this.
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand, and I want both of your opinions on this. Why is it that like I guess if they were to restart the series entirely, my only request would be, can we stop being so interested in velociraptors?
Yeah,
I don't understand
Yeah.
why there is this obsession with these things
agreed.
that it's just I find it so tiresome. Uh,
Yeah.
of oh, like don't get caught up with the T-Rex, or they don't even really like mention the herbivores anymore.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Except for
and
just show them being killed by the volcano.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
like sad, which is a good scene, but like it's the only scene I can even think of about them in this franchise after the first one. Like, I mean, obviously they were in it like to some degree, but like
Yeah,
that's the only moment that was actually important.
yeah, you get the gyrosphere scene where they're going through the fields with all the herbivores.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that last look of the island before it's consumed by the volcano.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like you have a couple interesting moments with them, but the idea that the raptors are really they're so set apart from the rest of these dinosaurs that they're the
yeah,
only interesting dinosaur you can possibly have.
and yet
Uh,
there doesn't they don't seem to be an attraction for the park. I don't know
yeah.
if you guys noticed that,
it's a good
but
Mhm.
point.
they're so separate. They're just in one pen that is seemingly disconnected from the rest of the park. It's only, the trainers and everything who are watching
Yeah.
them. Like, okay, so what's the point of, bringing them back if you're not going to have them on display or anything?
Yeah. No, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like as a child going to the zoo, then the like seeing predators is interesting, but they usually like if anybody who knows anything about the animal kingdom, like they're usually pretty inactive unless they're
Yeah.
actively stalking something. And
Right.
so you mostly look at them and they're usually sleeping.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yes.
even if you have like a cat, for instance, and cats mostly just sleep and relax and hang out unless they're hunting, and then they're really interesting to look at.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that like when you go to the zoo as a kid, like it's great to like ride on like go for a camel ride. At the Toronto Zoo, they allow you to do that, and it's like
Mhm.
you're sitting between the humps, and
Yeah.
it's like this, like whoa, I'm almost tipping over, and seeing the giant elephants or the giraffes and the monkeys are so much fun, and
Yeah.
everything, all of the primates that. kids don't go, I just want to see the super violent ones, and I don't care about anything else. That's what I don't understand about these movies. Why do they only care about the predators, and then specifically why do they only care about one particular predator? And you know, it doesn't. Somebody just got super into raptors, and it's just they can't get enough of them, and they can't say there's no hyperbolic statement too far for this franchise of they can communicate, they've got sophisticated language. I'm pretty sure that like the next one we're gonna see like a raptor writing, but like, you know, he's gonna have like a little like jar of ink, and he's gonna be dipping his little claw in there, and then he's gonna be like, my dearest Martha. Just gonna be sitting at a desk just,
I mean, I think as amazing as that would be, I think that the more realistic outlook for what will happen with the singular raptor that is left, because again, there's only one left at the end of Fallen Kingdom, so I think in Jurassic World 3, oh no, it's learned how to mate with other animals.
it could be.
That's going to be the intelligence thing that they've started creating hybrids of their own out in the wild.
I guess so.
I think that's going to be it, but I could definitely also see, look at these markings. They show signs of intelligence. He's writing things, and then it won't be English, but language. It's definitely...
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I don't think we're far off from raptors literally having a written language within this film universe. Yeah. And I would love to ask an actual paleontologist who is familiar enough with raptors to know, is there any consensus within the paleontology community that they are the most intelligent, they were the most intelligent dinosaur, or the most interesting? Or is this just something that some of these screenwriters just became obsessed with for whatever reason?
Because like I do remember seeing like a documentary where like they actually did like pack hunt, but like I still feel like that's not enough to be like, oh yeah, they were totally like super smart and like they could do all this. And I'm like, I feel like they just pack hunted because if they didn't, they would all die if super fast. Right. Like, I don't think this is some big like, wow, they all like did this, which makes them the most smart and makes them like all be able to communicate so well. And it's just like, no, I don't think that's the case. I think that's a cool thing that they pack hunted, but I don't think that's anything like absolutely like mind blowing.
Like, agreed. There are tons of animals that pack hunt, and we don't think of them as more intelligent than dolphins.
That's right. Yeah. If we're not careful, hyenas are going to take over the world. Wolves will take over the world. Yeah. It's us or them. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. All right. I do have a couple more notes. And these are really, really quick. I promise I'm not trying to stretch this out at all. One is the kayaking experience that you see in Jurassic World 1. That looks fantastic. The fact that you can just, go kayaking or canoeing or whatever it is down the river with dinosaurs just on either side who are drinking from the stream. That's awesome. I just think that that's another one of those attractions that's like, okay, that would be legitimately really impressive, except for the fact that you would never have all those dinosaurs drinking at the same time. Yeah. Great visual, though. And it feels like, very much a theme park ride.
They'd have to put cocaine in the water to get those things to constantly be coming when there's all these visitors. But the other thing, too, I guess what I'm saying is, and I want to hear more, Tyler, I do, but I'm saying just in regards to that, like with these giant herbivores, like why they don't act like these things are so impressive and awe-inspiring is beyond me, because sure, you're kayaking, you're going down this little river, and then you've got this brachiosaurus that's drinking from the river, and then it turns around and its tail hits you and your head comes right off, because I guarantee if you got hit by something that big, like, I mean, I've
Especially
fed
some that have like the spiky tails and everything.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I've fed cows before in a barn, and like they'll get over to the food pretty quickly, and like just a cow who's not taller than me will like knock you over. You know, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa. And so I'm saying a dinosaur of that size, like
Yeah.
the fact that like they just allow them to wander around in those like rolling balls while you've got these giant things.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're telling me not once has one of those dinosaurs accidentally hit that ball or stepped on it and just squashed the guests?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see one of those, like, just like a little tiny side thing, like in Robot Chicken or something, where someone is just going down that and there's not a single dinosaur, and they're just like, I want my money back.
Agreed.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Tyler.
Okay, so my other note is the very, very beginning of Jurassic World, the first one, I think is actually a great callback to the original trilogy, in that it is this, three-footed claw that steps down into the snow and whatever. And you go, oh man, it's a dinosaur, and then it's like, oh, it's just a bird. And as we know from the Jurassic Park trilogy, dinosaurs almost definitely became birds. And so that I think that's because when I was rewatching it this time, then I was like, well, that's kind of lame, but I guess. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's a nice little nod.
It is. It's a nice little nod. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. I guess quick question. If there was a real Jurassic World, two-part question. One, would you go there? And two, what is the ride that you think there should be that we haven't gotten to see? Sorry, I'm springing this on you guys.
100%. I would go if I had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the ride that I would want would be riding on the back of a giant dinosaur.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know that like there's like a lot of animal rights activists who would be appalled by this. First of all, there's a hypothetical question that, for one thing. Second of all, like when I was a kid, then I remember going to the circus, and circuses don't really exist anymore in North America, at least. But I remember we went to a circus when I was a kid, and I got to ride on the back of an elephant, and they had like, it was a bunch of kids who were on there. There's a bunch of us because there were like rows. There was, I think, 3 rows, and like there were the benches on there. And I remember that was one of the most exciting things ever, doing that as a kid. And so the idea of like some of those giant dinosaurs, like a brachiosaurus, for instance, if they could like get some kind of harness around it and, just like wander around on the back of a dinosaur, like that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luke,
yeah.
would you go?
Yeah, I would go. Well, if I had the opportunity, it depends how much it would be, but
Right.
I would definitely try to go. I don't know what ride. Maybe riding on the back of one. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. That would take I would have to think about that for a long time.
Yeah.
I definitely like to feed dinosaurs as well.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I know a lot of people hate Marineland in Canada because of animal rights abuses and all of that. And I'm not disrespecting any of the concerns by any means. But I remember when I went, it was quite a few years ago, feeding, like you can feed multiple animals there, like the deer. Like at one point, like when I was a kid, this is the earliest video footage of me as a human being. Then I was in a stroller, and my mom left animal crackers on the little tray that I had in front of me on the stroller, and like she wandered off to go and take care of my older sister and our cousins, and everybody just kind of left me in this deer pen, and then all of the deer just flocked over to me, like literally Uncle Tom was filming, and I disappeared. The king couldn't even see the stroller. We have this footage. That's the first footage of me on camera of just a pack of deer that just surrounded me, and I was gone. And yeah, so like there's that, and I remember like feeding the bears, and like they're this one bear was just so lazy because you feed them corn pops. You get it from the machine, and then it comes out in an ice cream cone, and like you just fill up the ice cream cone with all these corn pops, and he would just like he was sitting there on his back and like just lying down, and you're just throwing them at him, and I was trying to get it directly in his mouth. The rest of them would wander around and they would eat it off of the ground, but this guy, it literally would just land on his chest, and he just he was the Homer Simpson of bears.
Oh my goodness.
Like he couldn't even like do a full sit up to try to get it off of his belly. He's just like, that's too far down, but this one I'll eat.
Yeah.
So I would like to feed some dinosaurs. That sounds like a lot of fun. I fed alligators here in Florida. Then like you can feed alligators basically anywhere. So yeah, I like feeding animals, I guess.
That's interesting. Yeah, for me as a theme park nerd, a coaster enthusiast, it's I love all those ideas, but I I really want a perfect replica of the Jurassic Park ride from Universal Studios, but just with real dinosaurs there instead of animatronics. I just think that would be like really cool. You know, like the riverboat adventure as you're like going along, and there's just like all these dinosaurs on either side. I had mentioned, you know, the kayaking or
Yes.
or whatever. I think, you know, you get a larger boat and it's a guided, you know, vehicle and everything. You know, I guess you would have to have like some fences or something. But still, yeah, I think that would just be really, really awesome to have like a little bit of a thrill element added into this experience of just being in awe of all these different dinosaurs going along, you know, all the different paddocks or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea. Or even the like having like gondolas that go over all of the different areas, like they have at Busch Gardens. That would be cool. They'd have to be really high up though, otherwise you'd have like a brachiosaurus who's, you know, trying to steal somebody's salad while they're in the gondola. Just like, what is that? Just sticks his head right in, the whole thing goes flying. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
I think it would be cool to see other animals get brought back, like a mammoth or like a saber-toothed tiger. I think that would be pretty cool to see them, like, because I mean, if you can bring back a dinosaur, I feel like it would not be nearly a stretch to bring back those things.
I agree. And I think that's an interesting thing that these films have not explored at all, is bringing back like a woolly mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger, because we have far more genetic material from them than we have from dinosaurs. I don't know if we have any genetic material from dinosaurs.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that we do, right? Because like the fossils themselves are not even bone. It's stone that's calcified around like, in the shape. As far as I understand it, right? Isn't that in one of the movies? Like the fossils themselves are not even bones, because the bones would be millions of years old. I don't know how that could possibly hold up, but if it turns into stone, then we've got the shapes, but we don't have genetic material. So one would think that in the Jurassic Park universe they could do that, because that'd be a cool thing. You could have like Ice Age land and then Jurassic Land.
I would love Ice Age land.
Yeah. Me too. But the one quibble that I have with these movies in general is, and this is like I've heard it said before that like the two people who know the most about dinosaurs are like 8-year-olds or 5-year-olds, whatever it is, right? And then paleontologists, and there's nothing in between. So when I was a kid, that was actually kind of my dream job for a few years when I was a kid, to be a paleontologist. This is before Jurassic Park ever came out, and I loved dinosaurs as a kid, as many kids do. But the one thing that like has always driven me crazy about these movies is that they call it everything's Jurassic. Everything's just Jurassic, Jurassic, Jurassic. And I'm like, there's Triassic, Jurassic, and then Cretaceous. And the Cretaceous period seems to be the more interesting period than the Jurassic period, from what I remember from being into dinosaurs as a kid. And the fact that they don't ever like deal with that in these movies, why they don't say, we'll have Jurassic Park, we'll have Triassic Park, we'll have Cretaceous Park. Like, there's no distinction. It's just Jurassic sounds the coolest. So
yeah,
like that's why they just go with it. But I don't know. It's a little quibble that I have.
Yeah. Also, a very side note is just that a couple days ago or something like that, then there was a Canadian who discovered a new dinosaur. So there we go. We should just
out in Alberta, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I think it was. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like some sort of T-Rex, I think. And they don't think it's like it came before the T-Rex, I'm pretty sure, but like they know that it's not like an ancestor of the T-Rex. It's just kind of
a separate species.
Yeah. And from what I've read anyway. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. And I don't remember what the dinosaur's name is because it was pretty hard to pronounce. I was trying to like read it, and I was like, okay, you couldn't have come up with a better name for that. Like, I feel like why are all the dinosaurs so hard to pronounce? Like, it's just like
question.
Have like a simple name like lion or tiger. Like everybody can pronounce that.
I mean, we have the Latin names for all of the animals too. And so the Latin names are like the formal biological term for them is harder to pronounce than just the common term that we have. So. Yeah.
On the note of names, we do have like the Albertosaurus.
We do.
That one's easy to pronounce.
Yeah.
And even that might partly be why, the T-Rex for one is very popular, because although it's called the Tyrannosaurus Rex, everybody just calls it T-Rex. By the way, why in the movies do they just call it Tyrannosaur?
I don't know. Yeah.
In the Jurassic Park trilogy, they're always referring it to, it's a Tyrannosaur. Us! Tyrannosaurus!
Tyrannosaur. Yeah, that's weird. I don't...
You're such an expert, but why aren't you finishing the word? But yeah, that might also be one reason for why the raptors are so popular, because they are velociraptors, but everybody just refers to them as raptors, which is very easy to pronounce, and so that might
velociraptors are kind of like easy to pronounce.
Yeah, but that might be like part of the reason why they're more popular or more of a focus.
Yeah, that could be.
Just like how Jurassic has a better ring to it than Cretaceous Park.
Yeah,
I want to see Cretaceous Park.
Yeah.
That's what they should have called this trilogy. They shouldn't have called it Jurassic World. They should have called it like one of the other ones. That would have been. Well, and then another trilogy focusing on the other time period.
Yeah.
Just
I agree. A lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, we'll end it there. All right, well, feel free to comment below on any of the stuff that we've talked about and predictions for the third movie or the Netflix series or anything else with the direction of this franchise. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
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 Ignore the bell, people. We're going to keep going. We're still ignoring it. Don't worry. I don't know what that... I think that's the fire drill. All right. We're going to go home. Yeah, all right. We're done.